Hi class, welcome back to our lesson today. We're going to be doing lesson 2, vertical and horizontal translations. Just so you know, again, from your textbook pages that I have posted on Google Classroom, those are going to be the homework questions that you're going to be responsible for. It's going to be page 114, 1, 2, 3A, 4, 5, and just try to do number 6. Number 6 is a little bit more difficult, but try to do that one as well, okay? All right. So we're just going to get started here. We're going to start off with just taking up the investigation that you were going to do on your own. I'm going to use these highlighters, so we'll make our original graph just x squared as a function that's blue, right? So we'll make that one blue, and then we'll go on from there. So I'm just going to go in and I asked you to graph these. You could do it with the table of values. So I'm just going to go in and draw my table of values for each of these. So I know that for x squared, y is equal to x squared. So I know I use -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And I just know the points because I had done them before. But -3 squared is 9. -2 squared is 4. -1 squared is 1. 0. And honestly, for me, it just made sense to keep those plots kind of memorized, but just so you know where they're coming from. I've just plotted this graph enough times to have it memorized. So we're just going to go in and go up to -3, go to 9. Up to -2, go to 4. 1, 0. And I'm just putting in my plot. And I'm just going to draw my parabola. So this is what the original equation of x squared always looks like. It's what we call the base function, right? It's like the most basic graph that we can have for a quadratic function. So then I'm just going to move on. We can do x plus 3, right? So now I know that my new function is going to be y squared x plus 3. So I'm going to use the same x's because it just makes sense for me. So -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And it says y equals x squared plus 3. So I'm going to start doing that. So I'm going to say, okay, my y here is going to be -3 squared plus 3, which is equal to 9 plus 3, which is 12. Same thing here, -2 squared plus 3. -2 squared is 4 plus 3 is going to give me 7, right? Same thing, -1 squared plus 3. -1 squared I know is 1 plus 3 is 4. 0 squared plus 3. 0 squared is 0 plus 3 is 3. Right, 1 squared plus 3. 1 squared is just 1 plus 3 is 4. Then 2 squared, 4 plus 3, 7. 3 squared plus 3. So 3 squared is 9 plus 3 is 12. So now I have these as my points, right? So I have x here is -3. So the x's actually stay the same. So I'm just going to go up to -3. And it's at 12. And 12 is off the chart, so I'm not going to put it in. And then -2 is going to be 7. So I'm going to go drop my -2 at 7. Right? -1 is going to be at 4. So I'm going to go to -1. I'm going to go to 4 and put the point there. Then I'm going to go -1. Oops, sorry. This should be -3 is 7. So -3, -2 is going to be 4, so it'll be here. -2 is 7, sorry. Oh boy, struggling so much right now. Just gonna go back in and draw my chart again. So it says -3 is 12. Don't know what that is. Then we're gonna go to -2 over here and go up to 7, 6, 7. -1 is going to be at 4, so over here. Just gonna fix this line. And then we have 0 and 3, so 0 goes up to 3, right? And then we have 1 and 4, 2 goes up to 7 again, right? And so it'll look like, oops, it'll look like this. Everything's kind of just shifted up by 3. So then I'm gonna do this one in green, x squared minus 2. So I'll put that over here. I'll make that table of values over here, right? Y equals x squared minus 3, right? So I'm gonna do -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and then here I'm gonna do -3 squared minus 3 is going to be 9 squared minus 3 is going to give me 6, right? Minus 3 is going to give me 6. Oh, sorry, that should be 2. So I'm just going to change this. Apologies. So this is minus 2. So 9 squared minus 2 is going to give me 3 squared is 9, minus 2 is going to give me 7. So this is going to be 7, right? -2 squared minus 2. So -2 squared is 4, minus 2 is going to give me 2, right? And then we have -1 squared minus 2. -1 is just, squared is just positive 1. Minus 2 is going to give me negative, so 1 minus 2 is going to give me -1. So then 0 squared minus 2 is going to give me 0 minus 2, which is -2. And then we're just going to do the same thing. 1 squared is 1, minus 2 is -1. 2 squared is 4, minus 2 is going to give me 2. And then 3 squared is 9, minus 2 is going to give me 7. Right, so I'm just going to go put in my dots. So I have -3, and I'm going to go up to 7. Right, so I can plot this one. 6, 7. -2 is going to go up to 2, right here. -1 is going to go to -1, so just right here. And then 0 is at -2, 1 is at -1, 2 is at 4, at 2, and then 3 is at 7 again. So I'm just going to draw that in. It looks something like this. All right. So if you look at this, and I'm just going to go back and highlight my original graph. That was this blue graph, right? The pink and the green graph are basically the blue graph just shifted up or down, right? So you'll notice that with the green graph, we just took all the y's and shifted them downwards, right? With the pink graph, we took them and shifted them upwards. So what we say about y squared and x, x squared plus k, so this is x squared plus k, right? What we say about these two different functions is that they are vertical translations of each other, right? Or another word I use for translations, or another word that we use, is shifts, right? So if k, right, is greater than 0, which means it's a positive, so if k is positive, then you shift upwards. So you'll notice that the pink graph moved upwards, right? So it is a vertical shift up, right? It moves up. Whereas if k is a negative number, like it is here, right, it's -2. If k is less than 0, so it's negative, I'll just write in positive here, right, it's a vertical shift down, or you move down, move the entire graph down. Right, which makes sense, because if it's negative, it's going to become more negative. If it's positive, it's going to become more positive. Right, so you add or subtract according to whatever the k value is. Alrighty. So that was our first investigation. Now we're just going to move on. This is investigation number 2, which is horizontal translations. Right, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to label our base function as the blue. So I'm just going to go in and sketch it. I already have the numbers. They're already here. So I'm just going to use those numbers because I don't feel like doing the math all over again. 2 goes up to 4. And like I said, I honestly have drawn these graphs so many times that I just have the numbers memorized. You can find them every time, but I just find it easier to have everything memorized, and knowing what a base function is just makes my life a little bit easier when I'm sketching and finding the functions. So that's my base function. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to do, let's do this one as pink. So let's go find our y values. So you can just use the same y values if you want, or the same x values, right? I'm going to use the same x values just to keep things consistent, but when we move forward, you'll notice with horizontal shifts, we actually change the x value because it's easier that way, but I'll show you what it's like with the same one. -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And then y is equal to x minus 3 squared, right? So let's do that. Y is equal to -3 minus 3 squared, which is equal to -3 minus 3 is just going to give me -6. Squaring that is going to give me 36, right? Same thing here, -2 minus 3 squared. -5 squared is 25. -1 minus 3 squared. -1 minus 3 is going to give me -4. Squared is going to give me 16. Then we're going to do 0 minus 3 squared is going to give me 9. 1 minus 3 squared is going to give me 1 minus 3 is 2. Then if we go and we square that, it's going to give me 4. 2 minus 3 squared. 2 minus 3 is 1. Squared is 1. 3 minus 3 squared is 0. 4 minus 3 is 1. Squared is going to be 1. So I'm just going to add 5 and 6 just because then my parabola will kind of even out, because like I can't really graph these, right? So I just want a little bit more information. So I'm going to say, okay, 5 minus 3 squared. 5 minus 3 is 4. Alright, so 5 minus 3 is 1. 2. Squared is 4. And then 6 minus 3 equals 3. Squared is going to give me 9. So then 6 and 9. So now I'm just going to go in and plot these points. I can't do these, so I'm just going to leave it. Right? Let's start with 0. So 0 goes up to the 9 point. 1, positive 1 will go up to 4 over here. Positive 2 will go up to 1 here. And then we have 3, which will be 0. Then we have 4, which will be 1. 5, which will be 4. Right? And then 6, which we said was 9. So like I just did it because I wanted to even this out, and then I saw that the numbers weren't repeating, so I just continued. So just continue like that, right? See which ones you can use. And when we go back to drawing these, I'll show you an easier way to plot them. So let's do the same thing with the other one. We're going to do x plus 3. And because I know that it's going to be plus 3, I'm just going to start off a little bit lower. So I'm actually going to start off at minus 6. And you'll see why I do this when I go over where I got these numbers from. Okay, so let's just do y equals x plus 3 squared. So let's do negative 6 plus 3 squared. So I know negative 6 plus 3 is going to give me positive 3. I'm sorry, negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. Negative 5 plus 3 is going to be negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 4 plus 3 is going to be negative 1 squared is going to be 1. Negative 3 plus negative 3 is 0. Squared is equal to 0. Negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. Squared is 1. Negative 1 plus 3 squared is negative 1 plus 3 is 2, squared is 4, and then 0 plus 3 is 3, squared is 9. So I'm just going to go put in those numbers. So I'm going to say negative 6 and go up to 9. Negative 5 go up to 4. Negative 4 go up to 1. And then we have negative 3, and that's 0. Negative 2 is 1. Negative 1 is 4. And then 0 is up here at 9. And if you look at these graphs, compared to the original blue graph, the pink and green graphs are what we call horizontal translations. They're horizontal shifts, right? It's either shifting to the left or the right. The entire graph is moving. So the green graph shifts the entire thing in this direction, and the pink graph in this direction. So you'll see all the points moving along the x-axis. Horizontal shift. So when h, right, so that's the number in here, right, the number in here, right, when that h is greater than 0, right, it's going to shift the opposite way. So if it was when it was plus 3, right, when you notice it was plus 3, we actually moved to the left. We actually moved the opposite, to the, to the left, right? We actually moved in the opposite direction of which you thought it would move, right? Because it got smaller for some reason, the x's. Whereas when you had negative 3, so you had a negative 3 here, right? It was negative 3, so it actually moved to the right, plus 3. So it moved plus 3, but in the equation it was negative 3. And the reason that is because in the original equation, it's x minus h, right? So it would be x minus h, right? And if the h here is negative 2, because I want it to move to the left by 2, it turns into x positive 2, right? Because the two negatives add up together. You don't need to know that. You just need to remember that it's the opposite of what you expect it to be, right? So h is always the opposite of whatever this sign is in here, right? So if it was h plus 2, then it would be you moved negative 2. If it was h minus 2, you would move positive 2. So if h is greater than 0, right? So if it's a positive, you move to the left, which is the opposite of the direction you think you'd move, by h. And then in this situation, you moved to the right by h, right? So when it was less than 0, when h is greater than 0, which means it's positive, you move to the left with that green function that we have, when h is less than 0, you moved to the right, right? So in the pink function, so I'm just going to highlight the one that is. Here it's less than 0, so it's negative, and here it is positive. Okay. So I'm just going to give this like a summary, right? So if k is positive, right? So if the value at the end here, k, is positive, then the graph shifts k units up, right? So it moves upwards. And that one makes sense because if it's positive, it's going to move up. If k is negative, right? If it's like a -3, a -4, it's going to shift k units downwards. Okay? If h, right, is positive, this one is going to move in the opposite direction of which you think it will. It's actually going to shift left. So it's going to become more negative. Shift left. Right? So it's going to move over to the left 2 or 3 by h units. If it's negative, then it's going to shift right. Right? So I just like to say it's going to move in the opposite direction of what you think it should. The vertex can be found by reading off of the sign, and it takes the form HK. So if I was wanted to read the vertex for something like y equals ax plus 1 plus 2, right? I would take the 1, change the sign, so it'd become -1, and then 2. Because this is h, this is k. Right? So the k sign stays the same, but the x changes its value to a negative or a positive. So the h is the opposite. Than what it was inside the equation. Okay, so let's just try to do a couple of these together. I'm going to go through and do all of them for you. So I'm going to make the graph, make the table of values for every single one of them. For this, I would actually recommend that you stop the video and try doing them on your own after I show you how to do them. And the reason that is because that's the best way to practice this stuff. Okay, so let's just do this. We're going to do x, right? And then we're going to do y equals x squared plus 1. Right? So let's just go in. I'm going to use my same x's because I just like to. 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So I'm going to say, okay, y equals -3 squared plus 1, which is going to be 9 squared plus 1, 10. -2 squared plus 1, which is going to be 4 squared plus 1, 5, right? -1 squared plus 1, which is going to be 1 plus 1, 2. 0 squared plus 1, which is going to be 1. 1 squared plus 1, 2. I'm just doing the math. Okay. 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay, and I'm just going to go plot that point. So I'm going to say, okay, at -3, I'm going to go up to 10. At -2, I'm going to go up to 5, which is right here. And then at -1, I'm going to go to -1 is at 2. So right here, 0 is going to be at 1. I'm just going to go in and put the points that I have. 3, 10. I'm just going to go draw in my parabola like that. And that's my answer. Right? My entire graph is shifted up by 1, which makes sense because my k value here was 1. Right? So, if you go back here, you notice that the x values do not change where there's no horizontal shift. Instead, you can use the following formula to actually make the transformation. So instead of having to go in and always going, okay, like -3 squared plus 1 equals 10, what you could do is that if you know what the points of the original equation are, you can just add 1 or add k to your y values. So you just need to add to the y values because your x values stay the same. So I'll show you what this looks like because it makes graphing just so much easier. So I'm actually going to go in and I'm going to draw my original function, so like the one that I just kind of know, right, which is -3, -1, 0. Or remember, and this just makes it easier for you to draw in your, like pick your points too. So I'm going to use my original points, right, and I have 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9, right? And what I can do is now I can change this to my new one, and I'll put that in orange by saying, okay, let's leave all the x's the same because there's no horizontal shift. So I'm going to leave it as -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to do y plus k. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say, okay, what's my k value? It's -3. So I'm going to do y plus -3, which is just going to translate to y minus 3, right? So now that it's y minus 3, all I need to do is take my original y from here, which is 9, minus 3, which is going to give me 6, right? And I'm going to do that for the rest of them. So I like to just go in and put my original points in. So I'm going to say 0, 1, 4, 9. And I'm just going to go put in, okay, minus 3. 4 minus 3 is going to be 1. 1 minus 3, -2. 0 minus 3 equals 0 minus 3 is -3. 1 minus 3 is going to be -2. 4 minus 3 is going to be 1. 9 minus 3 is going to be 6. And notice how that's so much easier than having to go in and be like, okay, x squared minus 3, right? So now I'm just going to go put in my points. I'm going to say, okay, I have -3. I'm going to go up to 6. I have -2, and I'm going to go up to 1. Then I have -1, which is going to be at -2, so right here. Then I have -3. I'm just going to go make a symmetrical on the other side, right? So it's going to look something like this. I basically just cut out all of this extra work of having to be like, okay, -3 squared plus 1, all of that garbage, right? And it just made it easier. And I know right now with the y, you're like, missing, I could just do it. Like, it's not that much work. When we start combining transformations, this way just works easier. So I want you to try graphing these two, right? And then we'll take them up together. I put like a little mini table of values for myself, but you can draw them in yourself. And then we'll take it up together. I have gotten to the point where I can just draw in the graph and like know that I need to shift up a certain amount. So I draw my original graph and I just shift up that way. If you want to do it that way, you can. I'm drawing it with a table of values for the sake of clarity. So pause the video here, try to do numbers, these two examples by yourself, right? And then we'll take it up. All right, so hopefully you pause the video. We're just going to go ahead and take up the next part. So here I know that it's going to be y equals x squared plus 4, and I'm going to go look for my k value. My k value is +4, which means that I only have a k value, so I'm going to leave my y's alone, my x's alone, and I'm just going to focus on shifting up my y's. So I know that my k value is 4, so I'm going to do y plus 4. So I'm going to do -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Right, and I'm going to do my original y's, which was 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9, right? And then I'm going to put my k value in this like green color. So I'm just going to add 4 to everything. Because then I'm going to shift up by 4. So then it's going to be 9 plus 4, which is 13, 4 plus 4, 8, 1 plus 4, 5, 0 plus 4, 4, 1 plus 4, 5, 4 plus 4, 8, 13. So I'm just going to go put in my dots. My -3 is actually going to be off the chart, so I'm just going to leave it. Right, I'm going to go up to -2. I'm going to go up to 8. 1 is going to go up to, or sorry, -1 is going to go up to 5. Right, 0 is going to go up to 4. 1 is 5, 2 is 7, right? And then theoretically it would be off the chart, so it'd look something like, oops. something like that. Okay, so let's take up this one. So again, I only have a k value here, right? Notice how it's at the end, so it's -8. So my k value is, so it's going to be y plus -8, and then I just know I can make that simplified into y plus and plus turns into -8, right? So it's just going to be, I'm going to leave my x's the same, so y, and I'm going to keep my y's the same for now. I'm just going to put in my original values. And again, like I said, memorizing these will just make it easier. -8, -8, -8, -8, -8, -8. 9 minus 8, 1. 4 minus 8, -4. 1 minus 8 equals -7. 0 minus 8 is -8. 1 minus 8 is going to be -7. 4 minus 8 is going to be -4. And then 9 minus 8 is going to be 1. So I'm just going to go put in my points. So I know at -3, I have to go up to 1. I know at -2, I'm going to be at -4. And then at -1, I'm going to be at -7, so right here. And then 0, -8, 1, -7, 2, -4, and then 3, -8. I'm sorry, +1. So just going to draw in my graph like that. So you notice how everything is just kind of shifted downwards. Apologize. I'm just going to make it so that it looks nice. And there's my graph. Okay. So I'm going to move on to now horizontal transformations, which are similar, right? So what happens with the x values here is that when you have a horizontal translation, notice how the y values stay the same, right? So you're still here at, they're all -4, right? But what you're noticing is that they're -4 at different x's, right? So they're moving along the x-axis. So if you think of the axis as kind of like a conveyor belt, right? A horizontal shift is if that was moving left to right. A vertical shift is if it was moving up and down the axis. So let's go in here. And so if for the k shift, we add the k value to y, what we can do for the h shift, or for the horizontal shift, is what we can do is instead of changing the y values, now we can change the x values, right? And how we can change the x values is that you take whatever your h value was here, right? You change the sign, and then you put it into this equation. And I'll show you how that works, right? And you always have to change the sign. So remember that you must change sign of h, okay? Because it's just the opposite of what you think it will be. So let's put in our original equation, right? So my original equation is just going to be -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9, right? And then I want my new equation. So my new equation is going to be x plus h. So x plus h is going to be -2, because when I take out this, h is going to be -2, right? Because I'm just going to change the sign of the +2. So h plus -2, which is going to be -2. So x minus 2 and y. So in this situation, I'm actually just going to go throw in my y values, which I already know are staying the same. And now I'm going to change my x's. So I'm going to say, okay, -3 minus 2, -5. -2 minus 2, -4. -1 minus 2, -3. 0 minus 2 equals -2. 1 minus 2 is going to give me -1. 2 minus 2 is 0. And then 3 minus 2 is 1. Right? So I'm just going to go draw in those points. So I have 5 and 9. So -5 go up to 9. Then I have -4, and that goes to 4. Then I have -3, that goes to 1. -2, -1 goes up to 2. Or sorry, up to 1. That should be 1 here. Right, and then we have 0, which goes up to 4. And we have 1, which goes up to 9. Right, so I'm just going to draw in my little parabola with its... There you go. And that's what my parabola is going to look like. So I want you to try this by yourself. The only thing you need to remember is that the h is going to equal whatever the opposite is. So h is going to be 3 here, and h is going to be -2 here. Okay, so try that out. Pause the video here, and then we can take it up together after. But I do want you to try doing this on your own because it is a more difficult concept. So try that out. And then unpause this video and go back from there. All right, so hopefully you pause the video. We're going to take up this 2 questions together. And before we get started, I just want to show you how I set this up. So when I'm doing a horizontal translation, I know that I'm going to be changing the x's. So I actually just make the x column a little bit bigger for myself, and then I leave the y. And then I just go in and put all my y values. So I know that my y values are going to be whatever they are always on one of these graphs, right? Which is always going to be 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9. That's like the basic function. 1, 0, 1, 4, 9. And this just saves me a lot of time for me having to do the math always. Then I know that my k value here is going to be +3. So I'm going to do x plus 3, right? Then it's going to be whatever my original x's were. So I'm going to say, okay, originally it would be -3, -2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go in and add my +3, +3. And I just like to go put it in first so that, you know, I'm not dealing with having to do that after. You can go along and do this as you go. It doesn't really matter. So -3 plus 3 is going to be 0. -2 plus 3 is going to be 1. -1 plus 3 is going to be 2. 0 plus 3 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. 2 plus 3 is going to be 5. And then 3 plus 3 is going to be 6. So now I have a table of values. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9. So I'm just going to go put in my coordinated pair. So at 0, at x equals 0, it's going to go up to +9. Right? At x equals 1, it's going to go to +4. At x equals 2, we're going to be at 1. At x equals 3, we're at 0. At 4, we're at 1. At 5, we're at 4 again. And then at 6, we are at +9. I'm just going to go in, draw my graph, which makes sense. This is shifted to the left, or to the right by 3, which makes sense because our k value is our h value in here is 3, right? It's a negative, so we know we're shifting the opposite way of which we think it should be going. Okay? Let's do this one. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to look at my h value. I know my h here is +2, so I'm going to pull it out and say it's -2. So what I need to do here is I need to do x minus 2, right? And my y's stay the same. So let's just go throw in our y's. Right off the bat, they're 9, 4, 1, 0, 4, 1, 9, right? And then we're going to put in our x's. Originally would have been -3, -2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do the math. So then -2, 3 minus 2 is -5. Negative 2 minus 2 is going to be negative 4. Negative 1 minus 2 is going to be negative 3. 0 minus 2 is going to be negative 2. 1 minus 2 is going to be negative 1. 2 minus 2 is going to be 0. 3 minus 2 is going to be 1. Right, so now I have my points. I'm going to say, okay, negative 5. Let's go to the negative 5. It's going to go up to 9. Right, negative 4 is going to go up to 4. Negative 1 is going to go up to, negative 3. Negative 3 is going to go up to 1. Negative 2, it's going to be at 0. Negative 1 is going to go up to 1. 0, x equals 0 is at 1. Sorry, x equals... I apologize, I did this wrong. This way. There you go. There you go. Is that, so then 0 is at 4, and then 1, 9. Right, it looks like this. It's the same parabola that we would have originally. It's just shifted to the right now, which makes sense because this is positive. Right now by 2. Okay? Alrighty, so I'm going to let you try these ones again by yourself. Obviously, I'm going to take them up with you now, but attempt to do them. I'm going to actually leave these. I'm not going to walk through how to do them. I'll post the solutions on D2L so that you can see them, right? And then we'll also talk about how to find the vertex. And we're going to do that in combining. So I'm going to let you do these by yourself. It's just a little bit of extra practice, and then I'll post the solutions. And then we're going to go over combining vertical and horizontal transformations, right? This is where we both have an H and a K, right? And it sounds complicated, but what you're doing is you're basically taking what we've been doing with both of these and combining them together. And it's not hard. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your original formula, right? And you're going to just add the H and you're going to add the K values, right? So let's do that. Let's go first of all, find out what our H and K values are here, right? So I'm going to start off with this graph over here. My H value is always going to be the one inside the bracket, right? So if we think about it, our equation is written like this. Y equals A x minus h squared plus k. So the k value is always the one on the outside of the bracket, right? So that's the plus 1, and the h is always on the inside of the bracket, which is the minus 2. I know that for my h value, whatever it is on the inside of the bracket, I just need to change it when I pull it out. So it's going to be positive 2, and my k value is just going to be positive 1. And that's because it's outside the bracket. I don't need to do anything special to it. Okay? Your vertex is always, so I'm just going to write h here. H is equal to 2. K is equal to 1. Right? So I know I'm going to have to do x plus h. Right? So my x plus 2, right, which is my h value. And then I'm going to have to do y plus k, right? And my y is just y, whatever that is, plus k, which is 1. Right, so I'm just going to erase this. I'm going to go put in my original x's, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Same thing on the other side. I'm going to go put in my original y values, which is 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9, right? And then I'm going to start adding what I need to add to it. So let's do the x's first. Negative 3 plus 2 is going to give me negative 1. Negative 2 plus 2 is going to give me 0, right? Negative 1 plus 2 is going to give me 1. Then I have 0 plus 2, 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 2 is 4, and then 3 plus 2 is 5. On this end, I'm going to add 1, so 9 plus 1 is 10, 4 plus 1 is 5, 1 plus 1 is 2. right? And notice how that just became easier to do. So then I'm going to go plot in my new points. That's going to be my x, this is going to be my y, and using these x's and y's I'm going to plot. So I'm going to say, okay, -1, right? And if you want, you can honestly draw it out for yourself as a new timetable or a new t-chart. So I'm going to say -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it's going to be 10, 5, 2, 1, 2, 5, 10. I'm just going to go draw those in. So I have them in front of me, so that's how I'm going to do it. So I know that my -1 value is going to be 10. So I'm just going to go to -1, put the dot there. My 0 value is going to be 5. Put the dot there, right? My 1 value is going to be 3. 2 is going to be at 1. 3 is going to be at 3. 4 is going to be here at 5. And then 5 is going to be up here at 10. And that's going to be my graph. So it makes sense because it is shifted to the right by 2 and up by 1, right? So I just took the original function, which was this. I'm just drawing in the original for clarity's sake, so that you know what we're shifting. Right? And I took one of these dots and I said, okay, let's shift it to the right by 2, right? So I'm going to use this one. Shift it to the right, so 1, 2 by 2. And then up. So shift it to the right, 1, 2, and then up by 1. It should be up by 1. Oops, because I made a mistake. Sorry, when I was drawing, I made a mistake. So we are going to do this. Sorry, I just made a really quick mistake while drawing my graph. So and then, so 1 is going to go to 3. So -1 is at 10, 0, -1, 10, 0 here is at 5. I apologize. 1 and 2. Two is at 1. So this is what my graph looks like. Right? And so if I went to go pick up a point, I'm just going to use this one up here. If I went over, it says over to the left by 2 and up by 1. Left 2, up by 1. And I'll get that point. And it'll work for any point that I do. So if I go here, my 4, if I go over 2, up by 1, I'll get my new point. Over 2, up by 1, I'll get my new point. Over 2, up by 1, I'll get my new point. So if you notice, that's how that will work. If you go here and you look at the vertex, right, you'll notice that the vertex is at 2, right, 2 and 1 at the intersection of 2 and 1. That's my vertex. Those are also your h and k values. Okay. I'm trying to find a way to erase this black line without erasing everything, but I can't. It's fine. So try and do these ones by yourself, right? This should be a squared, so just ignore this for now and change it to a squared sign. So try doing these two by yourself. Try finding the vertex just by looking at h and k, and then we'll take them up together. Okay? All right, so let's try doing those right now. I'm just going to go over H and K first before we even get started, and then we can go from there. All right. So before we get started, let's go find our H and K values. That way we can just throw in our vertex right off the bat. So our H value here is going to be this +3, and we're going to change the sign, so it's going to become -3. And then our K value is just -2, so it's going to be just -2. Because it's outside of the bracket, we just leave the value the same. So I know that the vertex is represented by HK, right? So then it's going to be -3, -2. So we got that going. Okay. And then let's just do this. Okay. So I'm going to go and find out how to plug these in. So I'm going to do x plus -3, which is going to be just x minus 3. And then I'm going to do y plus k, which is just going to be -2 as well. Okay. So I'm going to go put in my originals. Originals over here. And then I'm going to do, okay, -3 for all of them. So -3 minus 3 is going to be -6. -2 minus 3 is going to be -5. -1 minus 3 is going to be -4. I'm just going to go in and solve all of these. So those are my new x's. My new y values are going to be y minus 2, so I'm going to put in 9 minus 2, 7. Right? I'm going to go put in these dots. So at -6, I'm going to go up to 7, which is right here. Right? At -5, I'm going to go up to 2, which is right here. At -4, I'm going to be at -1, which is right here. At -3, I'm going to be at -2, which is right here. Like that. And that's what my graph's going to look like. And if I, again, go back and compare this to my original function, if I took any point on this graph and I just shifted it, right, I would get the new one. So if I shifted it, +3 means to the left 3, -2 means down 2, right? So let's take this. Let's shift this point to the left 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then down 2, 1, 2, I'd get my new point, right? And you can do that for any point on the graph and you're going to get that. All right. Last but not least, let's go find our vertex. And then for this one, I'm just going to show you how to draw it without even having to do the table of values, right? So I'll show you how to do that as well. So my h value is going to be -6 becomes +6. My k value is +3, right? And you can, by all means, and I've drawn it down here, you can do the x plus 6, y plus 3, and do it that way. I'm just going to show you how to do it if you have the original point. So I like to go draw on my original graph, and this is a way that you're more than welcome to do. I think it's a little more complicated because you might find it more complicated, and as we move on to do stretches, the table of values method might work better, but if you would like to do it this way, you can. So I know that this is going to move to the left, or sorry, because it's negative, it's going to move to the right 6, right, and up 3. So I can take any point on this graph. Let's take the middle one, and I'm going to go, okay, move to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right, and then up 3. So I'm going to move it up 3 as well. 1, 2, 3, right. Same thing here. I'm going to say, okay, move this point to the left 6, 1, 2, or to the right 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, put a dot here. And this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, right? And then same with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Up 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, same here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, up 3. Right, oops, sorry. 6, right there. So it'll look something like this, my new graph. Right, which if you did the math would be the same thing. And you'll notice that your vertex is here at 6 and 3. Right, and then you could draw it that way. Whatever way you feel comfortable doing this. Again, I think personally writing in the numbers is a little bit easier because you're always making sure that you're getting the right point and that you're not just doing like a math error. Right, and that's it. That is the end of this lesson. Hope you understood that. If you have any questions, please let me know. And again, your homework is just here at the top. It's going to be the textbook pages, page 14, 1, 2, 3, A, 4, 5, and try to do 6, okay?